Welcome to the Fish House Nation podcast presented by Catch Cover, your home for ice fishing news, tips, stories, and strategies. And now, your host, Chris Larson.
Welcome to the Fish House Nation podcast. We're talking ice fishing at the St. Paul Ice Fishing Show. The cool thing about this show is everybody who's anybody in ice fishing is here. And today we're talking to Tim Hill from Arnesen's on Lake of the Woods. And we're talking some Lake of the Woods, one of the favorite spots for ice anglers in Minnesota.
The Big Lake.
The Big Lake. You're on the Canadian border. You're way at the top of Minnesota.
I wave to Canada every day.
So, Tim, tell me a little bit, if someone is going to Lake of the Woods for the first time and they knew nothing about it, what's your sales pitch on Lake of the Woods?
Lake of the Woods is such a big body of water and a lot of structure and different points. And, I mean, it's got a huge quantity of walleyes, saugers, northern pike. I mean, when you go up there, and most people that come up and visit us, they can't believe how good fishing is. And I mean, we're very fortunate to have that kind of fishing on Lake of the Woods.
Yeah, so great fishing up there. You guys are a winter destination, but just a year-round resort. So you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, we're a year-round resort. We have charter boats and everything, and lots of cabins. A lot of people bring their own boats up, do their own thing. We got a lot of reefs that everybody fishes. Winter, we kind of run. We got 150 fish houses that we run. And so basically we do our own thing. We don't plow any roads. So we transport all of our customers out, heated rigs to heated houses.
Okay. So you're getting them out there on track vehicles, and people can stay at the resort and you guys can take them out for the day, but you also have overnight houses as well.
Yeah, we do have sleepers. Out of them houses, we got about 50 sleepers, and them are basically overnighters. And they're stretched out for about 4 miles out from the resort, maybe 4 or 5 miles out. And they work very well, and a lot of people really enjoy them. It's like camping on ice, and when you wake up in the morning, you start fishing. You don't have to worry about the transportation and everything. And a lot of people really enjoy them.
So if someone's coming up there for the first time, what kind of things should they bring if they're planning on going ice fishing with you guys?
For us, the biggest thing is to bring the right stuff. I mean, brake tackle. You don't want to go to Kmart or Walmart and buy them fishing rods and have 20-pound test that looks like a square knot. I mean, you got to have the right line. You want that 6 to 8 pound. We use a lot of rattling and glow stuff because our water is stained. Mm-hmm. So you need that glow and the noise to attract the fish.
Yeah, with that dark water, what are your favorite colors? What are your go-to colors?
My go-to is definitely red or pink glow. I maybe use a little bit of gold every once in a while, but I would say red or pink. And then obviously you switch it up every once in a while. We'll do some chartreuse or something. And I mean, you just got to find what they want that day.
Mm-hmm. And when you're putting your jigs down there for walleyes, what kind of bait you putting on those?
Usually for us, the easiest thing for us is we use live chubs because they'll last. So you don't have to worry about the dying and whatever. And a lot of times when I'm jigging, I just use half of a minnow. Mm-hmm. But dead stick, obviously, you want something with action, so we'll leave the live minnow on there. Otherwise, we do use a lot of frozen shiners up on Lake of the Woods, and they're from the lake. They basically net them in the fall and the spring, and we'll use them. And they seem to perform a little bit better, but I can honestly say we catch enough fish with just normal chub minnow.
Yeah. Lake of the Woods is really well known for being a structure lake.
Yep.
Lots of different places out there to fish. You're not out there basin fishing like a lot of the bigger lakes that people fishing right now. Tell me about where you're setting up and where people should go if they're thinking about coming out and doing some fishing up there.
Most of the time, like early season, we'll do the shorelines. We try to do the shorelines and maybe some points. A lot of the structure on the shoreline is rock related, so we'll hug the edge of a point or something and catch the edge, or on the shorelines we're looking for rubble, basically gravel, rocks. I mean, that seems to hold the bait fish and the fish, and that's where we start. But once we get a good solid base of ice, 18 to 21, then we're running, we're going to the reefs. We have probably 13 to 14 reefs within a 7-mile radius of the resort. So we'll just, we'll bounce around from reef to reef, and basically we just do pods of houses on each reef and, change it up. Some reefs will be good one day and then they slow up, and then we'll change over to a different reef. I mean, we keep moving. We move houses every day. That's what we do. So
you're trying to keep people on fish. What is the bite like? I mean, during the day, when's kind of the magic hour on Lake of the Woods?
Me, myself, and I would say most people that live up there, it's a 9 to 5 lake. So 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 10:30 is your prime bite, and I would say 3:30 to 4:30, 5 o'clock. Them are the two best bites. You do catch fish in the middle of the day, but you can definitely see where you're busy, one after another for about a half an hour, and you're like, wow, this is good, and then all of a sudden you're like, one fish, another bite, and you can see it slow down, and then all of a sudden at the end of the day you're ready for your run. So it's good for sleeping in.
Yeah, that sounds good. You don't have that 5 a.m. bite. So.
No. Mostly I've done it. Obviously I've tried many things. I've tried fishing at night. I've tried fishing in the morning just to try to prove something. But I'm telling you, I've sat there for 2 hours and never had a bite till the sun came up, and it was like 8:30, and then I started catching fish. At night, if you get a nice moon or something, then you'll catch some fish in the middle of the night. But most of the time it kind of shuts down. You catch one here and there, but you can totally tell when that sun gets to the treetops, it's happy hour.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about dead sticking earlier in the show. How many rods are you allowed on the lake?
We're allowed 2 rods per person. And typically most guys, you'll be jigging one, and then you got your dead stick or your bobber. And that's the most effective. For us, you got to attract the fish. Mm-hmm. If you're just going to sit there and watch 2 bobbers float, you're going to have a different day than the guy that's sitting there trying to jig them and attract them in.
Yeah, and what we find is, a lot of times you're jigging, and the dead stick is what hits, but the jigging stick brought them in. Yeah,
I tell people, a lot of people say the same thing to me, and I've witnessed it myself, obviously, but yeah, you're jigging, you're looking at your electronics, you can see the fish coming, you're like, and all of a sudden you look over, you're like, where'd my bobber go?
Yeah.
But your jigging is what probably brought it there.
Sure. What's your favorite part about Lake of the Woods?
My favorite part about Lake of the Woods is you've got so much area to fish. And summertime, you could run all the way across 13 miles, get up by Stony Point, go up to Garden Island, all that stuff. You got totally different areas, and it's a big mass of water. So if you're not catching fish here, you have almost too many options, but it's nice to have options to go try a different spot or a different reef or a different point. You could spend the whole day traveling, and once you find the fish, you forget about everything you just wasted your time on, but you got a lot of area to fish.
Yeah. What's the most challenging part of fishing Lake of the Woods?
The most challenging, it's a big body of water, and a lot of people don't understand it. Like right now, we're just developing ice, and we got ice, but the sheet is not completely frozen all the way across to Canada. It's moving back and forth. Mm-hmm. So right now, a lot of people are saying, well, you got 10 inches of ice, but you got open water right there. We have to wait till it connects, and when you got 1 million acres of ice, and you get either a strong north wind or a strong south wind, it can shift, it can move. You can't predict what's going to happen, but you got to be safe. You got to really think about what you're doing. And in the summertime, same thing. You might go out, and then the weather's beautiful. Everything's good, but if you get any type of a strong wind coming through, it doesn't take long for them waves to start developing. So you got to really focus on what the weather's doing. And then early ice, you can't, just because you see a nice sheet of ice across the lake, early ice, you got to be careful on what you do, because some of them spots were open yesterday and skimmed over, and you could be on 1 inch of ice, and we don't want to see anybody get in that situation.
Right. What is your season like up there for ice season, as far as when do you guys start getting out in the water, and kind of when is it shut down for the year?
For us at Arnesen, I mean, we're kind of fortunate, but usually we're out ice fishing with customers by the middle of December. That's pretty typical. And because we're not by the Rainy River, we don't have current and everything. Once we develop that ice, we get that 30-some inches of ice. We keep that ice, and we'll fish in the first part of April.
Right.
I mean, we don't have to worry about the river opening up and everything else. So we're one of the last ones with still taking people fishing at the end of the ice season.
When's the best time to come up?
Quite honestly, I get asked that a lot. I mean, me personally, I like it when we got that nice 18 to 21 plus inches of ice, because then we can run everywhere. I mean, we can run to all the reefs. I mean, getting around, it's less, you don't have to worry about these ice shifting and everything, because we have bridges and everything. So I like January, February, and March. And in our late March is some phenomenal fishing. The fish start to move in towards shorelines, and most people are already thinking about mowing grass down in southern Minnesota, while we're still up there ice fishing, catching big walleyes.
That's awesome. So why should someone, if they're thinking about coming to Lake of the Woods for the first time, why would you advise them to hire a guide and get out there and get started that way?
Well, if it's your first time, I mean, you need somebody to help you out. I mean, I've gone fishing many places, Mexico, wherever, if you didn't have a guide or someone to help you out, you would spend 2 or 3 days trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. So if you want to go up there and enjoy yourself, why wouldn't you take a guide and have them set you up on the fish already? You don't have to do nothing. I would do it if it all depends if you can afford it. I mean, I understand that, but it's a lot of water. And if you in U.S. side of Lake of the Woods is 600,000 acres, and if you don't know where you should be fishing on that 600,000 acres, it would be nice to have a guide to help you out. For sure.
And he actually brought that up. You get the U.S. side, you get a Canadian side.
Yep.
How did people kind of handle that?
It's pretty, we don't have any major issues. I mean, a lot of the guys, they will go fish on Canadian side, and they've made it a little bit easier for us. I mean, as long as you don't anchor up or touch land, and as long as you go by Canadian rules and by Canadian license, you can go into Canada and fish. But quite honestly, for me at Arnesen's, I mean, I got 600,000 acres, so I don't take customers into Canada because I really don't need to. I mean, if I got to go to Canada to catch some walleyes or whatever, I mean, then obviously I'm not doing my job right. So we stay on the U.S. side.
Cool. What's your pitch for Arnesen's? I mean, if I was going to come up there, there's lots of resorts up there. Why do I want to stay at Arnesen's?
The biggest thing about Arnesen's is we're one of the only resorts on the South Shore. I mean, we're very fortunate. I say this many times, but we have a lot of structure reefs within that 7-mile radius. I would say at least a dozen reefs that you could fish. So you got, and one reef could only be a quarter mile away from the other. So if you're searching for fish, just because we didn't catch any fish on this reef, you bounce over to the next reef, and then if that don't happen, you keep working them. But you don't have to travel 20 miles. I mean, you're within sight of the resort. I mean, it's just close, easy. And then the really nice harbor, we got a protected harbor in the summer. In the winter, I mean, everything's there. I mean, we got a huge lodge, all really good meals, steak, whatever you want. It's just a great place to be.
Yeah, one of the cool things about it is there's a lot of history behind Arnesen's. I mean, the place has been in the family for a long time. Can you tell me a little bit about the history of the resort?
Yeah, Arnesen's, they homesteaded or developed in 1897, and the family's owned it ever since. And that's pretty rare for a lot of resorts, because a lot of resorts change hands through the years. And I think they're on the 6th generation now. So, I mean, it's a family-run business, and it's very friendly, great for families, kids, everything. I mean, we're laid back, and it's just a very nice place to be.
Yeah, one of the first settlers to that area was you guys. So
yep.
That's super cool. If people want to learn more about Arnesen's work, and they find information on it?
If you want to learn more about Arnesen's, you can either go on Facebook and look up Arnesen's Rocky Point. Otherwise, you can go to arnesens.com.
Tim, thanks so much for coming on the show and talking Lake of the Woods. And it's that time of year where people are getting excited about getting out and taking a little trip and kind of discovering some adventure and going to some places that maybe they haven't before. Awesome. Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Fish House Nation podcast presented by Catch Cover. For more ice fishing content, visit our blog at catchcover.com.